And hi again, everybody. Welcome back to Sports Talk, our special Derby edition. Doug Miles, Don Henderson with you tonight. We were supposed to play our horse race call there, but apparently we have little glitches in the audio. But that would only mean that we have less time for our guest, which is Pete the Prophet, who always joins us during Triple Crown season. He joined us today. Very hard to get a hold of him, but we're happy to have him tonight. How are you, Pete?
I'm here for you on the big race days. I can do the song for you if you want. I can hum it. Whatever you need, Dennis. Whatever you need. I'm here for you guys.
I couldn't get that call to post to work, but anyway, glad to have you.
Pete, I'll tell you one thing, Pete. I don't know whether it's you or Doug. One of the two of you followed Bob Baffert yesterday. He got in for the draw right after his horse picked the number 7 spot. So he got a great spot, but he wasn't there when the draw was taken care of.
I'm interested to see, and I guess he's not going to show up. I thought Rick Pitino was going to go tomorrow to see his horse run in the Philly race, but it looks like he is boycotting.
Well, it's going to be a terrific race. So, but Doug, why don't you set it up and we'll go from there?
I was going to say,
let's go, Doug.
You're talking about Pitino there. I've read stories in the paper. Some college in Rhode Island, another one up in Detroit, looking to hire him, which makes no sense to me.
I didn't know that. Is that right?
Yeah. They made offer. He didn't accept anything yet, but people, no matter what he does, I guess he can get a job. It's amazing to me.
As long as he doesn't come back and be a Nick coach, that's all. That's all I care about.
Hired Fisdale today. I just saw that come across.
I didn't even know that. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's a big sports day. You got Pete the Prophet on the phone. That's a big
New York
sports
Knicks
day.
fans all excited, but David Fisdale is your new coach in the New York Knicks basketball team. So thrilling news.
Yeah, they sort of said that was going to happen yesterday, to be honest with you, and they were, dotting the I's and crossing the T's and so forth, but they thought that he was definitely going to get the job, and everybody seems to be very enthusiastic about it now. I can't say that I am because I don't know that much about him.
I don't know much about him either, but I probably rates up there with Holtzman, with the great Nick coaches. I mean, I don't understand New York at all. From any team that goes on here, I do not understand it. So anyway, let's get to horse racing.
I'm with you. Let's get to horse racing.
Coming up Saturday, and I was surprised, Pete. I was talking to Don before we went on. I always thought they did the post positions usually is on a Wednesday afternoon. They did it earlier this year. I don't know. Has that been going on a while? I always thought it was Wednesday afternoon they did that.
No, it was the first year they did it. They moved up the Philly race to Monday, and they did the Derby draw on Tuesday. I'm not exactly sure why they did it, but it's actually nice. You get that extra day. I don't even know really why they waited till Wednesday as it was, but as always, the draw really is so interesting. I love how they do it now, where you get to pick your own spot as compared to just, picking it, like a bingo machine, and it ends up being very much of a strategy at that point.
Pete, I think one of the unusual things is, at least unusual to me, you got two horses that didn't even run as 2-year-olds, and Justify, who most people think is a 3-1 favorite going in. You're talking about horses that in the Kentucky Derby that never ran as 2-year-olds.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. Now, I know it was a year or two ago, one of the horses ran second. So I'm not sure, how long that record's going to hold up for, but it definitely is about seasoning. And Justify has the 3 races under his belt. They all have over 100 buyer numbers, which is, I think it's only happened one other time in Derby history. So for his first 3 races, I don't like him tomorrow. I know all you hear about it. He is working out like a fiend on the Churchill Downs course. He's feeling great. I just feel that with all the pressure, there's going to be a lot of speed. There's going to be a lot of things going on out there, and I think he'll crack, but Baffert's a miracle worker, so you never know.
Doug, you said at the top of the show, actually before we went on the air, you were talking about the last time a horse that had never run as a 2-year-old and got into the Derby that actually came out as a winner. Well, you said it was in the 80s, right?
1882. These are the notes I saw from an article. I guess Apollo was the name.
Apollo.
Back in when Pete started covering racing in 1882.
Yeah, when I was born in 1750, and then I picked up when Apollo ran. How many
races can 2-year-olds run? Well, Don and I were talking about it. You can only do maybe 2 or 3, right? Because they can't race them earlier than that, or because they don't really know what they're doing, horses, right?
No, you can. I mean, Secretariat. I'm saying Secretary ran maybe 5 or 6. Ran the first race that he lost, the maiden race, came back. I don't think he even ran a maiden race. I think he won a couple of stakes, a couple in Saratoga. I think the Champagne and maybe something else. So he ran 5 or 6. You can run a lot, and that's what ends up happening. But what used to happen back in the 80s and 90s was they would run a lot as a 2-year-old, and they just never panned out anymore as a 3-year-old. They were just too overworked. But we've had the discussion before about how the horses have changed so much with their stamina and how they're built. When a horse like Secretariat can just run, and don't forget, if Secretariat used to have workouts that would track records. I mean, every workout was just one after another, and you don't see horses doing like that. They just don't make the horses like they used to. So they give them big months in between, and they only race them, 5 times before the Derby, maybe, and that's it.
Well, Mendelssohn's going to be in there somewhere. That's the second choice right now, and that's a little bit of an unusual story, and of course would justify the reason they're saying that he is a 3-1 favorite. He beat Bolt O'Leary early on, and so that, I guess, gives him the impetus to be the favorite at 3-1.
Yeah, it makes. It makes sense simply from a handicapping perspective why he's the favorite. He definitely has the best numbers and probably the best races overall. But once again, it's a Santa Anita horse, only out in California. Coming over here, I hate Mendelssohn. I think the horse has got no chance. That particular route from Saudi Arabia to here is 0-4-12, and I don't think anyone...
Not only that, Pete, to interrupt for a second, but he only got here 2 days ago.
Exactly, and all he's been doing is just walking, and I think tomorrow he gets to go out on the racetrack. I mean, just a complete impossibility for him to win that race. He's a fantastic bet against, and he'll suck a lot of money out. Great bet against.
Magnum Moon, the third choice, Todd Pletcher horse. Todd Pletcher's had a great last 10 years or so. He's had a great career, but it seems like the last few years he's really had the big horses.
Yeah, he has. He's got, 3 or 4. I think he's at 4, and 3 of them drew in the auxiliary gate, which is going to be a lot of trouble because a couple of them are the speed types. I believe it's the Noble Indy and Magnum Moon both have speed, and even though it's a long
16th hole, I tell you, how do you like to come out of the 16th hole way out there?
16 hole and Noble Indy, I think, is in the 19 hole. Both have that speed, and which means almost definitely you're going to be wide into the turn. And
right.
I'm not sure if Magnum Moon. I think the starting gate, I'm not positive, might be 15, and then the auxiliary gate is 16. And what happens there is because there's such a big gap between the starting gate and the auxiliary gate, the 15 and 16, a lot of times because they come out of the gate and there's no one to their left or no one to their right, and they make sharp turns. So even that's a problem there as to where that goes. So that's way out there, way wide. Horses do win from out there, not usually speed types.
Well, one thing that not non-racing fans are too familiar with, and Bob Baffert talked about it yesterday after the draw, or day before yesterday after the draw. He said, the only thing we don't want is 1. Nobody wants 1.
Right.
Nobody wants 1. I mean, I think the only horse that, and I'm pretty sure he broke from the rail, Seattle Slew, got off awfully in that race and just barreled through everybody eventually. But no one wants the 1 hole. It's the kiss of death, especially everyone. You've got to break right on top of your game. And nobody wants that spot. So I'm not even sure who has actually, it's a bunch of long shots on the inside.
The horse, Ferenz Fire, 51.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, a bunch of long shots in there. I think the great thing about this race, first of all, this year, there probably isn't any unbelievable story as to who might, some unbelievable connection. The Bolt D'Oro question is that his trainer, his owner and his trainer started the horse out and got him as a yearling. The guy's a high school dropout. He taught himself how to train. He trained in Montana. He's even wearing different silks in his own tomorrow in honor of one of his friends. And he's got a new jock now, Victor Espinoza. That's an interesting take to the race. But overall, you can pretty much think that the winner will be one of the big ones, one of the big trainers. I am shocked at the price of Good Magic, who was the Breeders' Cup winner, beating a bunch of these in the race pretty easily. Had the one tune-up race in Florida, didn't run well. Then came back and exploded with a number. He's sitting on a big race. A couple other horses improving. This race is going to be fun. It's going to be wide open. I don't think these long shots have a really, really big chance. I have there's one horse, I think his name is My Boy Jack, who I give a big shot to.
Wow.
Yes, big shot, big closer. Also, Flame Away, another one, same thing. I think they'll be getting into the running because of the 1.25 miles. But wild race. The inside horse is a Promises Fulfilled, is a speed horse who likes to wash out. So that could become a wicked pace early, which might really set it up for these closes. It's always a trip handicapping race.
Oh.
Pete the Prophet joining us. Don Henderson, Doug Miles with you, our Derby preview show. And Pete, I don't know if I ever asked you, when you bet these big races like the Derby, Belmont, or Preakness, do you bet the exotics, or are you a straight pick the winner only kind of guy?
Almost always pick the winner only.
Yeah,
it's impossible to me to do that.
With 20 horses, you almost can't even pick 3, right?
It is. You really, what you can do is you can key one that you might think will hit the board, and then you can kind of play around. Sure, you've heard of Brad Thomas. He's probably one of the best handicappers on the planet, and does so well in these kind of races. Years ago he had like a $6,000 or $7,000 triple in the race, but he keys, he plays around. I'm not that kind of player. To me, it's basically win and win only, and I'll go. This is not a great race. It's a great betting race, but it's not a great race to bet a lot of money, because there's just so much that can happen in the race.
Exactas and trifectas are not, or 5-race specials are not. This is not the race for those. But now let's you handicap the one horse that you think is going to be the winner.
I think it's between Good Magic, the horse I just mentioned, and I'll give you the 3 that I love, and I'm not sure exactly where I'm going. It's Audible, and it's Hofburg. Hofburg ran second behind Audible. Mott's horse is Hofburg, improving, only run 3 times, once as a 2-year-old, coming into the race big. I just think Good Magic is sitting on the big race.
Magic's got a good spot. It's in the 6 hole, which is Ortiz is saying the 12-1 going in, but
yes.
I like that middle. I like the middle of the pack there. 5, 6, 7, 8. I like that. Those post positions better than anything else.
That's definitely the spot to be in this race, and that's the kind of Audible is kind of tractable. Good Magic is kind of, all those 3 are kind of tractable, and they can kind of go in any direction. So those are the ones that I'm kind of keying on in that race. I'm not a big fan, like I said, of the top 2 favorites.
Audible, I believe, is owned by the Amazon company, isn't it? Bezos? I thought I read an article that they own at least part of that horse. Audible is one of the brand names for Amazon. Their audio books or something. So.
I didn't realize that.
I thought it said it's owned by, I don't know if it's Bezos that owns it himself or something to do with Amazon. That's why they named it Audible.
Oh, it must have something to do with it. I don't think he owns it. Well, maybe he's part owner, but
part owner, I think.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure of that. I haven't heard of that.
Horse, 8-1 morning odds. So.
Yeah, and his Florida Derby race was just gigantic. I mean, that was visually the most impressive race to me of the season of this campaign, and that's the one that I think will that race will be a big one coming into this Derby.
We'll hit the dog track down here to make our picks, and you're just a few blocks away from where you can go, Pete. Belmont, right?
I can go to Belmont, as a matter of fact, because we're in the age of simulcast wagering and wagering from your home. I can not even move and stay right here and
you can just do it.
Make my wagers right here.
You told me a thing you could do something on your TV set. This was back in the 80s. You were like...
Well, a fellow by the name of Hugh Gannon and I started, where you could bet at home. And Pennsylvania was one of the few states that started it, simulcasting to your home way back in the late 80s, early 90s. And you, Gannon, and I started from Philadelphia Park, and we only to New York, to the islands, to Pennsylvania. Only about 5 or 6 states that we can do it. But as you said, Pete, now all you do is sit in your living room and go from there.
You don't have to move. And, the one thing, just getting off the Derby for a second, you can tell, at least in New York racing, I think it's very different down at Gulfstream, where the experience of going to the racetrack is meant to be enjoyed, and they're trying to make money there off of drinks and food,
right,
and the whole one-stop shopping. Belmont now has
ambiance. Ambiance, Pete.
It's all ambiance. If you go to Gulfstream, there's a bar around every corner. They are packed. The beautiful, whether you can eat up top there is beautiful. Belmont has got none of that, but more importantly, they changed post time now to 1:30, which is like back in the 70s, and so now 1:30 ends about 10 to 6. So they're not at all about the people going to the track. And I get it. There's only 3,000 people that go during the week. But it's very, very sad when it's not about that sort of racing. It's all about Saratoga. And now Saratoga's making some big changes. They've just got approved to make a permanent structure on the clubhouse turn of these, like a big sort of restaurant area that they have now currently in like temporary housing. And then they made a brand new area in the grandstand that's exclusive for like a bar, and you can only get in there if you're in that spot, and it's beautiful seats. And so they're picking it up there because that's about the fan experience. But Belmont has none of that.
Well, not only that, Pete, but they're going to extend the meet again. I mean, they can't let it. They can't let it go. They got to keep getting more people there and more horses there.
I'm waiting for the 8 weeks. I'm waiting for July 4th after. Either they do it July 4th and go right through, and what you can do is just race 5 days a week or 4 days a week in the beginning to not kill the golden goose, and then you step it up. But I think it's just got to happen. I'm surprised it hasn't already.
Well, what happened, Pete? I know we talked last year about it. They were going to winterize Belmont and eventually close Aqueduct. Any more on that?
Well, that's part of what's kind of going on right now. I don't know if you read that what they want to do now is they want to put a synthetic track on the inside of the two turf tracks at Belmont, so there would be 4 tracks, and the synthetic track would be used for races that are taken off the grass because the synthetic track never turns sloppy. But also, they would do that would be used for the winter racing, and that I think that's also how it's going to go. One of the reasons why they built the second course at Aqueduct was because at a certain point you're going to have to change the Belmont dates for a while, right, and race more at Aqueduct. So there's a grander plan coming up. They tried for night racing, which was turned down by the state.
Well, Pete, you're in the shadow of Belmont. We talked over the last few years about the Islanders possibly moving, getting a stadium there. Well, it's been consummated in the sense that they put a couple of shovels in the ground. I don't know what they've actually done, but I'll tell you, it's going to be interesting when they open the new hockey basketball facility in that area, and it'll be right behind your house, so you'll be all right.
It'll be right. I mean, it's going to be on the far turn of Belmont. I've seen so many different pictures of what they're talking about. So it's really hard to put a face on what they're doing. I can't imagine where they're putting the track exactly, and they want to build more of the Long Island Railroad, but they're going to put a 20,000 seat facility in there, and they're going to have a year or two of everyone's going to come. And then when Tavares is gone, which will probably be anyway, no one will come to the place, and once again, it'll be a dive, and we'll still hold on to Gus Snow as our GM because he's done such a spectacular job following on the footsteps of mighty Mike Milbury.
Yeah.
Well, Pete, I want you to remember that they were the model for Las Vegas this year. They were the model of how to build a club out of nothing and get into the playoffs and dominate the first round. The Islanders, the Devils, and the Rangers are the model for how they did that out in Las Vegas.
Absolutely, and an amazing job of how they did it.
Is that embarrassing, though, Pete? I mean, you and I have been watching hockey, since we were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. How does an expansion team, if they win the Cup, doesn't that tell you the league is just completely watered down?
I'm not sure about that as much as the expansion seems to change from, way back when, now there's more of the unprotected players that are actually pretty decent.
Absolutely.
That can come in, and now it's very different than what it was when teams first started.
Don't you think it's
I'm sorry, Doug?
Parity talent? Every team doesn't have the huge star anymore like when we watched it originally. So you can build a team, like you said, with Vegas. You have that great goalie in Fleury, and you can get a few guys that can play good defense, a couple of goal scorers, but you don't need a big star anymore.
I also think, Pete, that you commented too. All last year, every show that we did, we talked about hockey, obviously at different points. But my point was from the very beginning that Bettman set up a situation where, as you just alluded to a second ago, you could, if you have the right kind of management, you could draft players to be competitive. What other sport has ever had an expansion team? Not only would they would be a winner, but they would even be competitive for the first 4 or 5 years.
I mean, and right away. I mean,
right.
not even when they built it into something. I don't remember I'm trying to think of a couple of teams in particular that I'm not even sure if it was. I don't know if the Carolina Panthers when they first came in, or Jacksonville maybe.
Pete, in their third year, right? Fourth year? Didn't they make? That's when they beat the Rangers.
Was that their fourth year when they did that?
25. Wasn't that their third or fourth year where they beat the Rangers in that 2 out of 3? So they were the quickest expansion team to not win the Cup, but they at least got in the playoffs. You can go back to the original second 6 in '67 when 6 teams came in, and the St. Louis Blues made it to the finals because they split it up into those 2 divisions. So the Blues had to make one of those teams had to make the finals that year.
Right.
And back then, when the Islanders, did that, they, a lot of it was, kind of older stars, kind of broken down, and
right.
That were just like ending their career. They got a bunch of good draft picks, and then they, built this mighty thing. But what Vegas has done is absolutely unbelievable. That you can have a brand new team with no history, and they just come in and they do exactly what they do. And when your point, Doug, is 100% correct, is there are of course stars in this game, a couple that are that elite, but there's so many other right below that, and it's just made the game that much more, I think, interesting. And it's also fascinating then how in this area, especially with the Islanders and Rangers, how there's none of that happens. And then with the Rangers firing the coach, which I really don't understand.
But Pete, the only thing I really don't understand, even in the long run, is the game they're playing now. I agree, it's all wide open. They want to see more score, but holy smokes, when did you ever see Stanley Cup competition where they scored winning games 7-0? And I mean, they're scoring goals like it's no problem at all.
And you never see that. And back when if you watch replays of way back in the day when you watch the Islanders, first of all, the goalies, was much smaller with smaller pads, and there was plenty of ice room. Not
only that, but he could chop everybody up that came by. Smith was a killer.
Oh my God! And the defense, all you could do, you could interfere with people all over the place. So in that sense, the game's better at how it's a little bit more freewheeling. But all this game is right now is deflection, screens, traffic in front, big bodies. There's, of course there's skill, but it is just one big pile up in front of that net.
Just want to mention, we talk about the Islanders building those great teams. Speaking of that, Bill Torrey, the GM of those great teams, he passed away today. He was 83, so he was the guy that made all those great draft picks that the Islanders had, like Trottier, Bossy, Potvin, all those guys.
I mean, think about that. Think of all the stuff that he did, and even think of when Lou Lamoriello was in Jersey, the things that Lou did, and we just don't have that vision here.
What's happening in Toronto right now? When Doug and I last saw Toronto play here in Tampa, I mean, you wouldn't believe they were a National Hockey League team, right, Doug?
That was pretty bad. You're right. Yeah.
It was awful. And in 2 years, they become more than competitive.
Yeah, Yeah, well, they have probably another one of those greatest players of all time. One of the Connor McDavid. No, I'm sorry, that's Edmonton. They have a young group that's just gotten so good themselves, and it's amazing how the improvement can happen now. But the key question is, and you guys tell me this: can Washington do this? Come on, can they do it? They can't, right?
Well, I'm rooting for them. I'll be honest with you, because
I am too.
They downplay the poor guy. Every article in the paper, every radio, TV announcer. Oh, he'll never win. He'll never win. And so I'm sort of hoping at least gets to the finals. I don't know if he's going to win or not, but I hope he gets there.
I hope so too, because boy, has he been battered for boy, oh boy. I mean, and you pretty much know if they don't get beyond this, he's got to go. It's just too much right now. But
I saw him on the postgame show after he got that game-winning goal, which was obviously a big part of his career. All the great goals he scored, but this was the biggest one. And I'm telling you, he was not overly excited, but he was very straightforward with the interview after the game, and talked about what had to be done. And it's a little bit of a change of complexion, I would say, from the normal interviews that he's done over the years, and not only that, but not only the interviews, but the reaction on the ice.
They seem a little bit more focused.
Absolutely.
I'm a little surprised because they seemed so unfocused in that first round in the beginning, even though a lot of games, went to the overtimes and they were really battles, but they really struggled. And normally a team that gets hot usually gets hot right before the playoffs, maybe the last month or less in the year, and they sweep into this. And Washington, it was just consistent, and then they stumbled early, but that comeback and how well they played at the end, and then going into this, really changes things.
Right. Doug?
Yeah, the series quickly before we wrap it up. Tampa Bay and Boston. Tampa Bay with a good win up and on the road yesterday, and that's a series I thought maybe Boston had a chance in, but I don't know now. Tampa Bay is kind of that quiet team. Nobody really talks a lot about it locally. Even you don't get a lot of press down here about Tampa Bay, but they're always in it.
They are a good team, though, boy. They got a bunch of those ex-Rangers. They got a lot of speed.
Quick.
Very quick. Very, very, very quick.
They change ends faster. Boy, you give up the puck in your own end, you're dead.
Yes, absolutely. And, Don, what you were saying before, which is really interesting, when you look at the scores of these games, I mean, the Jets beat the Predators 7-4, which is, you're thinking the Predators have got that series, but you get, 7-4 in that game. You got the Sharks beating, the Knights 4-0. There's a lot of goal scoring going on.
Right.
And it's very, I thought the Predators were going to be pretty much a lock, but you're getting some really fun games. The Sharks tying up that series was huge.
Pete, my last question is, we've followed sports in the Northeast for so many years now, and we've seen the Celtics from the top and go all the way down, and now they're back up again. But New York, I mean, what disappointment. I mean, the Rangers, the Knicks, the Devils, the Islanders. I mean, how much mediocre play can you have from all the professional teams in the city or the metropolitan area, not just the city?
The only thing you have are the two baseball teams. I mean, the Jets are woeful. I don't care what quarterback they got. Their offense is completely woeful. The Giants, whatever. And they're on the top of the list. Everybody else, the Rangers have always been this, even though they made the Stanley Cup, they're sort of this mediocre sort of, they're playing a system. The Islanders are horrible. It's so hard. It's just so bad that you can't get someone in here that has like a vision.
Well, I thought the Devils were going to make a little bit of a run against the Tampa Bay. I really did. I thought the Lightning were going to have some trouble with the Devils, but boy, it just never materialized.
But the Devils have a lot of hope. They got a lot of promise. They got a lot of speed. They got a lot of youth. What are they, the fourth youngest team, I think?
Right.
They're going to be. That's like that. When the Islanders maybe first made the playoffs, you win that game, and then you get knocked out, and then you sort of improve on the way up. So I'll be curious to see what they do. But other than that, it is sad state of affairs here in New York. Sad.
Doug, you're up. Close it off.
Mike Francesa back on the air. That's good news.
Yeah. The fat man's back. Talking up his
Phil
thing.
Mushnick and Bob Raceman another 2.5 years of columns to write.
Yeah, they can batter him for the whole time. And how about his first guest being A-Rod?
I heard about that.
Right at the same time as Michael Kay is running his ESPN show. Wow, that's a nice take there.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a story in itself. There's a guy vanished from baseball. Now he's on Fox. Now he's doing the ESPN game on Sunday night. There's a story that cannot be duplicated.
It is. It's unbelievable from the top to the bottom to the top, and he's all over the place. And to me, I just think he's one of the biggest phonies on the planet.
On the side, so
and right, and you got that going on
little
too.
Kiddies out there, cheat at least twice, lie about it at least twice, and look at the reward you get. That's a great message.
Yeah, and lie. Come on, Francesa's show, and say I didn't do anything, and lie right there to everybody. I don't even understand any of that, of what he's made of.
America today, my boy. We go to the President of the United States. He's now saying today, well, yeah, there was $130 million, $1,000 payoff, and I returned this money. I mean, come on.
Following the Clinton model, that's all.
all I know is what Rudy Giuliani did is very similar to what like Garth Snow and all these other people do. It's one of these things where you go, I cannot believe what you just said, and I'm gonna make on par there.
Yeah, that was strange. You think Giuliani coming in? Oh, that's good news for Trump fans, but it hasn't worked out that way.
No, he's kind of imploded himself. So
Rudy Giuliani is getting more like a lot of people won't remember, but he's looking more and more like Blimpie every time I look at him.
He definitely does. You're right.
We'll do another show on that some other time. But Pete, always great to have you on. If you're available in about 2 weeks, love to have you on. Do a little Preakness preview.
Absolutely, and we can talk more about the hockey, and we can blast New York a little bit more. I always like
always
that.
Fun to blast our hometown. We're allowed.
Nothing like it, my friend. Nothing like it.
And Pete, last but not least, that is, keep in mind our opening song in case Doug loses it again. Maybe you sing it when we first come on.
Episode.
I can hum it or I can sing it, whatever you want. I'll have two things ready to go next time we talk.
Sounds good, Pete. Always good talking to you. Good luck Saturday.
Thank you, guys. It really was a pleasure.
Betting as well. And Don, good talking to you, and we'll do it again soon.
You got it, partner.
Take care, guys.